Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and before I get going, I wanted to remind everybody on Link2 now, they have PolySign, Ripple, and Link2 private equity on there, and I think they've got Uphold 2 and Ledger and some of the others, but the in these three right here, PolySign, Ripple, and Link2, I just looked, they've got a buy and a sell, so now you have the ability on the Link2 platform to sell shares as well. I couldn't remember if I had pointed that out recently. For the last few years, you've just been able to buy on the platform. Okay, Dark Defender XRP's already broken down, trend 777 days, super and wave trend. I love all this lingo. But anyway, he's saying we're forming a cut pattern targeting $89, $70, $3.39. Then we have now eGreg Crypto. He always gets extra bold, and he says $10 or $124. Now that's a pretty big but for right here, if you look, he says based on the trading proverb. What is a trading proverb anyway? Did he make that word up? Trading proverbs and past performance. I get. XRP hitting fib 1.618 around $10 could be a breeze. Is he messing with us here? A lot of times I'm reading his things. I can't tell if he's just making up words and it's a joke or if he's being serious. Stay steady because glory doesn't come on a golden plate. I like that. Now, this is new. There's a rumor about Fidelity to make seismic crypto move. It says they're possibly buy out Grayscale and file a Bitcoin ETF. And then just yesterday, they were talking, BlackRock had filed for a Bitcoin ETF. Now, I told you a long time ago that whoever gets the first ETF, it's not going to be one of the little boys. It'll be a Goldman or a JP Morgan or a BlackRock or a Fidelity. How these people rationalize stomping on all the little guys all the time and just giving it to their friends on Wall Street and nobody at CNBC doesn't put a microphone in their face and so that you can't just do that. Nope, they don't care. Brian Costello has been on it with the China stuff. Hey, Whale Chart and John Deaton. It's more like, this is a whale chart that had come out. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried is allegedly ratting out everyone in the industry right now. And boy, could he rat some out too. But Brian Costello says it's more likely SBF and his attorneys are using the threat of exposing everyone, ratting them out during the trial, which is prompting dropping of charges. I could imagine the list of people consulted about the China bribe to get the billion back was extensive. All right, now check this out. John Deaton has been going through the Hinman deposition. Apparently, this is some of the stuff that came out in those in the Hinman release, and he says they didn't redact the spelling of consensus. Hinman says he had 4 to 5 meetings with them, but maybe one was a phone call. This is between December 13th and 2017 and June 8th, 2018. We know for sure of 4 actual. Let me see here. 4 actual meetings. The meeting with Vitalik Buterin makes a minimum of 5. And look at this. He says, they're trying to spell consensus, and he says, and you know that so-and-so was founded by so-and-so, correct? And I believe, I don't write it down, but I'm pretty sure that this is consensus was founded by Lubin. They're asking him a whole series of things about that obviously is consensus and Lubin. And my question is, why does Lubin and consensus get to be redacted? And here's John Deaton right here. He says, what's significant about this? Clayton's law firm is Sullivan Cromwell. Joseph Lubin had hired Sullivan and Cromwell to represent consensus shortly after Clayton's nomination as chairman. We can all agree That was a very smart and savvy move by Joe. Now, this doesn't mean Clayton was bribed, but why is he so interested in these meetings with Consensus? It's because Consensus was a huge client of Sullivan Cromwell. Why did Hinman out of the blue call Lubin at Consensus? And then he goes on. He's got a lot more to this, which you can look at. But this is the one I wanted to focus in on. This is just an untruth right here in his deposition right here. He said, here's Hinman's answer when asked if he knows attorney Lowell Ness from Perkins Coie. It's ringing right here. They say, do you know someone named Lowell Ness? Now remember, Lowell Ness is the guy from Andreessen Horowitz. He's their crypto attorney. He's the guy that started that wrote the memo that became the Bill Hinman Ethereum free pass speech. And Bill Hinman's answer is, it's ringing a faint bell, but I couldn't pick him out of a crowd. Well, guess what? I don't know why, maybe it's out of arrogance, but Lowell Ness, even after all the stuff we've uncovered, Lowell Ness popped up back in February and did another YouTube interview and said this.
My playbook these days, in fact, honestly, ever since I sat across from Bill Hinman and he sort of said, we're going to accept your proposal to give some guidance here, I stopped giving guidance. I said, let's be consistent with the SEC's hand wave approach here, because that's who matters. When you get into court, like, the court's going to give deference to the regulator. Nobody wants to. I get that. I really do. And my heart is in it. I love the academic arguments about whether or not something should be a security. But I just think, honestly, to be pragmatic here, you should just treat it like security and be done with it and move on, because we all know how to do that. And so that's, to me,
So Bill Hinman says he couldn't pick him out of a crowd, but Lowell Ness says he met right face to face with Bill Hinman, and Bill Hinman said he's going to use his safe harbor memo as guidance. You see the problem here? Then we've got this. This is CoinDesk. Now, CoinDesk is in motion to help create this JP Morgan narrative. JP Morgan says release, so they don't say anything about the corruption or the what's obviously collusion that's going on at the SEC. That's not what they get out of it. JP Morgan says the release of the Hinman documents in the SEC versus Ripple case is a boost to Ether and will likely trigger a race for decentralization in the crypto market. Well, here's a quote out of that article. A new other category could be introduced specific to Ether and other cryptocurrencies that are decentralized enough to avoid being classed as securities, the bank said, adding that the more decentralized a cryptocurrency is, the higher its chance that it would avoid being designated as a security. Let me translate that quote for you. The translation is that these Ethereum disguised whales, JP Morgan, are you one of them? These Ethereum disguised whales would have their investments drastically hurt if there was a lawsuit filed against Ethereum, who did issue a security in their ICO and disguised the whales who bought the securities. Okay? And so what they're basically saying is, we need to create an other category for Ethereum, not for anybody else, just for Ethereum, because we wouldn't want to hurt investors the way that we did when we filed the lawsuit against Ripple and hurt XRP holders. We can't do that to the Ethereum holders because they are big disguised whales and might include who, right? So that's what JP Morgan, and let me give you a little refresher. This is Christine Moore, who ran JP Morgan's blockchain. Here's what she said, and I put this video out back in July 2022.
Telling that all of our projects are, on an Ethereum variant, as an example. That's intentional, and I think that as a bank, many did not agree with that approach early on, but now it's sort of playing through as being relevant.
I bet they're really not agreeing with it now, because they're probably sitting there going, "You guys put everything we've got on Ethereum, and now these people have uncovered all this video of what we've done behind the scenes. Now listen to Jimmy Valley talk about it."
And then they realize they couldn't. It's exactly like Tim Draper says, right? They ignore it, they laugh at it, right? And then they tried to kill it and basically front run it. It looks like now, I think it was just yesterday or the day before, we've got articles breaking now that JP Morgan actually controls most of the protocol of Ethereum, right? And that's all bubbling up because of what's happening in Switzerland around Consensus's corporate shareholders and things like that, because they've played a little shell game with the intellectual property that is the infrastructure of Ethereum.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it appears that JP Morgan, as a representative of the legacy, maybe the most dominant global representative of the legacy banking system, has attempted to engage in some type of front running of the process. So I think they knew many years ago that XRP was a big problem. That if the XRPL in the digital world is fully realized and people were actually able to engage with anyone else peer-to-peer anywhere in the world in 3 seconds, that there's not a huge reason to have banks in the way they exist today.
Okay, and then that got my wheels turning on this. Remember this tweet from a while back where Brad Garlinghouse back in 2017, he said there were 15 senior executives from JP Morgan in Ripple's office this afternoon. So I have a couple of questions. We know that Vitalik Buterin was sleeping on Stefan Thomas. I'm thinking about Mr. Huber on Twitter. He was sleeping on Stefan Thomas's couch. And that's where they were talking about Codius and smart contracts. And that's when Vitalik Buterin was supposedly trying to become a intern at Ripple. And by the way, Justin Sun from Tron also was at Ripple for a while. So what I'm sitting here thinking is, we know Brad Garlinghouse, because he said it the other day in that video he did. Brad Garlinghouse met with Jay Clayton and Bill Hinman at the SEC in good faith without an attorney, and he later finds out that they weren't acting in good faith. They were just trying to collect information on Ripple so that they could later sue them. So that my question is, did JP Morgan senior executives meet with Ripple in good faith, or were they collecting information? And I also have another question. Was Vitalik Buterin, did he really want to be an intern, or was he there to collect information because he left there and created his own version of smart contracts after he had the conversations with Stefan Thomas? Then we've got this. This is Jimmy Valley. This is a thread he did, and I think I missed it, but I liked it so much I wanted to share it with you. After processing the significance of the Hinman disclosures, in my opinion, the SEC's case against Ripple has collapsed in plain view for the entire world. There's no legal basis to bring the case. To the contrary, SEC's own internal view based on reasoned analysis and memoranda, and that XRP was not a security. This is consistent with pre-lawsuit analysis by Valhill Capital. The lawsuit was brought as a weapon against the American people to prohibit the participation in the public transition to a fair, equitable, and transparent blockchain-based financial system, and directed by agents of the CCP and other communist factions. At this time, the only appropriate action is for the Second District Federal Court to enter a directed verdict in favor of Ripple et al., order the SEC to reimburse Ripple for legal expenses and establish a fund to compensate retail XRP token holders for their damages. This should occur immediately. Following this remedial action, the U.S. Congress should begin an investigation into the motives and actions behind ETH Free Pass speech and the lawsuit against Ripple. It is a tragedy that so many within our federal government became so corrupt that justice must occur. Now, that was over the target. Now, this guy right here, this is an interesting tweet because this guy is the CEO of BitGo. And he says, a win for Ripple is a win for the whole industry. We haven't seen a lot of guys like that on the side of Ripple until now. Now that they all feel like they're potential targets, now they want to be involved. Now this video, I'm going to save this one for the next video because I've already gone over. I'm a digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family that I think Jimmy Valley was over the target. I think Congress needs to initiate an investigation immediately. Where are you, Patrick McHenry? Where are you, Tom Emmer? Where are you, Warren Davidson? All you guys are supposed to be the good guys. When are you going to call for the investigation? Thanks for listening.